and welcome to My College Coaches. My name is Sarah and I'll be your coach today. Today is our introductory video session, College Admissions 101. In this session today, we'll talk about the college search and the various factors you need to take into consideration. We'll discuss the different parts of a college application, all the different moving parts, the deadlines, and that sort of thing. I'll give you tips on organization and timing, because with the college search and application, there are a lot of moving parts and you don't want to let anything slip through the cracks. We'll also consider some other factors, such as financial aid, scholarships, and wait lists, all of which will play probably some part in your college search and application process. So to get it started, let's talk about the college search. What makes college searches so difficult? Well, simply it's that there are over 2,000 four-year institutions in the United States. If you count two-year institutions, that number more than doubles. You've also got the whole issue between public and private schools. Obviously, cost is an issue, as you can see here. So basically what we're talking about is a lot of different numbers, a lot of different considerations before you even really get your elbows into the work and get dirty. So, what are the factors you should be considering when doing your college search, trying to narrow it down to that list of schools to which you will actually apply? Well, we've found actually that the first and best way to start narrowing your list is to consider location. Location is more than just what state the school is going to be in. It has a number of factors. First, city or not. Do you want your school to be in a big city? Do you want your school to be in a more rural setting? Also, what states? What states are you comfortable being in? Do you want to be close to home? Do you want to be on the East Coast, on the West Coast? Is there some other sort of consideration, such as you want to be able to ski? You want to be able to do internships on Capitol Hill? All of these things sort of play into the location consideration and automatically cuts down the number of schools you need to consider. Next, we think cost ought to be a consideration. Some people, and the lucky few, don't have to really consider the cost, but most of us do. Most of us need to consider how much we can set aside for 4 years, how far we'd like to go into debt, obviously to avoid it, but what actually is sort of our boundary line here. Now, cost is a little tricky because you can't just take the sticker cost of tuition on a college website. You need to do a little bit of digging. Because while some four-year institutions might be $40,000, even $50,000 a year when you count room and board, many private institutions offer substantial financial aid packages that can bring that cost down to even lower than a public institution for 4 years. So you really have to do your research to figure out what types of packages the schools you're interested in offer. Next is program of study. Now some people would say that this one should come first, simply because obviously you're going to college to study. You're going to college to get a degree. Well, unfortunately, location and cost sort of bring your scope down a little bit first, and then program of study can come next. Because depending on your major, this may or may not be terribly helpful in narrowing your scope. If you're going to study, say, athletic training, something pretty narrow, this can actually narrow your scope very quickly and give you a list of schools that you may not need to go any further in your search. Some schools, or some programs of study, however, like biology majors, political science majors, those are going to be offered in most colleges. And therefore what you're going to consider next is not only availability, but reputation. Now reputation obviously is going to cover a number of things. One is going to be the program of study that you're considering. Now, a word again about your program of study. If you don't know what you want to do, and trust me, that's perfectly fine, you're 18 years old, you want to consider going to a school that's going to have a broad number of programs so that when you do make your decision, when you do decide on a major, you're not going to feel sort of hemmed into a select few. You're going to have a variety of choices. Now, reputation comes into effect both on your program of study and the school name in general. Regarding the program of study, obviously you want the best reputation possible. You want your degree, your major to stand out. Now, but school name. What's in a name, what's in a ranking? Well, there are some people who will do their college search simply by looking at the top 10 schools on U.S. News and World Report and apply to the top 10 to 20. Not necessarily the best idea because it doesn't guarantee your best fit. However, it might be a starting point. What are reasons you might want to consider the reputation of a school? Well, for one, if you're looking to get a job straight out of college, not go on to a master's degree or something else, you want to consider the reputation of your program of study and your school in the community in which you would work, both location community you would work and in the actual field. These could be important when you're looking to get a job. Also consider if you're going to be competing for one of the more prestigious advanced degree programs. Are you going to a top 3 law school or business school? Then you might want to consider the name and reputation of your school. If, however, you're going to just go on and get a master's degree somewhere else, you might actually wait to consider reputation until then. Now, the next you would want to do is look at the campus. What kind of campus feel is there? Understand, of course, that college is where you're going to live for the next 4 years. The next 4 years of your life are going to be spent in this one place. Now, some people want that beautiful, idyllic, Gothic-type campus that you'll find in New England. Other people are perfectly happy to be smack dab in the middle of a city where there really is no campus. It's an individual decision, and you need to actually visit the campus to get that sort of feel. Next is extracurricular activities. This is obviously pretty far down the list because while extracurriculars will probably be a significant part of your college experience, they don't necessarily make or break your decision because you're likely to find extracurricular activities that you'll enjoy at pretty much any given school. Now, the types of things that you might want to consider are the availability of sports, the Greek life, whether it exists, doesn't exist, is particularly well known, that sort of thing, or say necessarily the availability of internships, if that's something that you're really looking for. Next consideration is sports, whether you want to play them or whether you want to watch them. Now, in the first part, whether you want to play them. Are you going to be a Division I athlete, and do you understand that that's sort of like at least a part-time, if not full-time job? Would you consider, say, being a Division II or III athlete, where less of your time may be dedicated to sports, and you could dedicate more of your time to extracurricular activities and your studies? If you don't want to do anything maybe that serious, do you still want to play? Many high school students have devoted years and years of their life to their favorite sports, and it would be sort of a shame to just give it all up when you go to college. That said, it actually takes a bit of research to find intramural and club programs at colleges that are particularly strong. Now, on the do you want to watch sports type of thing, some people really consider watching big-name sports part of their college experience. Be it football or basketball, these can be sort of a big issue for students, and therefore should be taken into some sort of consideration. Finally, you have your sort of extras, your AP credits, your study abroad, your internship sorts of things. Not sort of the make or break of your decision, but definitely things you'd like to take into consideration, things you'd like to understand before you make a final choice. For example, with AP credits, many students will have spent years in high school racking up AP credits. It would be a shame to not get any sort of payoff in college for that effort. Another thing would be study abroad. Some students absolutely want to go abroad. Now, you need to take a look at your school, your program of study, the sorts of programs many schools offer to study abroad directly through that school. You can always find a program on your own, but it might be easier if the school actually encourages and facilitates that for you. Another thing is internships, and this has to do somewhat with location and somewhat with the career services department of any given school. Some students really want to intern, say, on Capitol Hill. They're going to want to go to school in Washington, D.C., and they're going to want to pick a school that maybe gives them credit for those internships, or at least has a sort of placement program. Again, these are all sorts of things to keep in mind, but not necessarily the be-all and end-all of your college search factors. So, what's next? Once you come up with that list of colleges to apply to, it's time to sit down and actually get to the application. Now, there are different parts of the application form, and each application to each different college is likely to be different. So, basic parts of the application. First and foremost, you've got the basic application form. Many schools use what is known as the Common App, the Common Application. It's a series of forms about 15 pages long that include your basics, name, school, and grades, and that sort of thing. But it also goes on to include essays, short answers, program of study that you'd like to consider.